It's racist because truly you do get in trouble if you are a white person who puts on blackface for Halloween or a black person who puts on whiteface for Halloween. Like back when I was a kid, that was okay as long as you were dressing up as like a character.
Every Latino out of this country, then who is going to be cleaning your toilet, Donald Trump? Oh.
Hollywood is full of stars, but not every star deserves the spotlight. Behind the glamour, power, and spotless reputations lies an ugly truth. Some of the biggest names in the industry were caught in shocking racism scandals.
After being accused of wearing blackface, the 25-year-old actress issued an apology over Twitter.
It's hard for me to even find the word, Matt, that I was feeling. I was just overwhelmed.
Some denied it. Others begged for forgiveness, and a few didn't even care. From racial slurs to blackface, these celebrities weren't just exposed. They were dragged, canceled, and in some cases erased. We're counting down from 50 to 1, the worst of the worst. And trust me, some of these names will leave you stunned. Number 50, John Wayne. John Wayne was the ultimate cowboy on screen, but off-screen, his words told a darker story.
Never felt better. Contrary to what you may hear,
in a Playboy interview in May 1971, he flat out said, "I believe in white supremacy until the blacks are educated to a point of responsibility." He added he didn't feel guilty about slavery because it was 5 or 10 generations ago. Talking about Native Americans, he claimed it wasn't wrong to take their land, calling them selfish for wanting to keep it.
live as well here as they live in any other country over that 199 years. True, I think they do have a right to more.
Decades later, those words still haunted him. In April 2016, California lawmakers refused to create John Wayne Day. And in June 2020, Democrats in Orange County tried to strip his name and statue from the airport. Number 49, Roseanne Barr. Roseanne Barr's scandal hit like a lightning bolt. On May 29, 2018, she tweeted that former Obama advisor Valerie Jarrett looked like a mix between Planet of the Apes and the Muslim Brotherhood.
After she sent out a vile tweet deemed racist about former President Obama's senior advisor, Valerie Jarrett.
ABC canceled the rebooted Roseanne show that same day, calling the post abhorrent. Consulting producer Wanda Sykes quit immediately. Co-star Sarah Gilbert condemned her words, and Disney's Bob Iger personally called Jarrett to inform her of the cancellation. Roseanne tried blaming Ambien the next morning, but the drug maker fired back with a statement saying racism is not a known side effect. She apologized repeatedly, even breaking down in an interview, but it was over. The show returned as the Connors without her. Number 48, Kelly Osbourne. Kelly Osbourne's worst moment happened live on The View. On August 4th, 2015, she was guest hosting and tried to slam Donald Trump's immigration talk. Instead, she blurted out, "If you kick every Latino out of this country, then who's going to be cleaning your toilet, Donald Trump?" The audience went silent. Rosie Perez immediately pushed back, and by the end of the day, social media had blown up. Kelly apologized, but the clip never really went away. Almost a decade later, she admitted it was the worst thing she had ever done, saying she was ashamed and that none of her personal struggles excused it. Number 47, Sharon Osbourne. Sharon Osbourne's meltdown happened on March 10, 2021. While live on The Talk, she defended Piers Morgan after his attacks on Meghan Markle.
Osbourne defended Piers Morgan's criticism of Meghan and Prince Harry after their interview with Oprah Winfrey.
And clashed hard with co-host Cheryl Underwood. The next week, CBS put the show on pause and started an internal review. By March 26, the network released a statement saying her conduct during that episode didn't reflect their values, and she was out. The fallout got worse when reports surfaced of her allegedly calling Julie Chen Moonves names, mocking her Asian heritage, using homophobic slurs against Sarah Gilbert, and telling Holly Robinson Peete she was too ghetto for the show. Osbourne denied those accusations, but they were widely reported by major outlets. Number 46. Mark Wahlberg. Mark Wahlberg had a violent and racist past as a teenager in the 80s. In 1986, court records show that he and a group of friends chased black children, threw rocks, and shouted racial slurs, leading the Massachusetts Attorney General to file a civil rights case. 2 years later, in 1988, Wahlberg assaulted 2 Vietnamese men. He hit Than Lam with a wooden stick while yelling slurs, and while fleeing police, punched Hoa Trinh, again using racist language. Wahlberg was convicted and served 45 days. Decades later, in 2014, he requested a pardon, but one victim opposed it publicly while Trinh supported him. By 2016, Wahlberg withdrew the request, admitting he regretted seeking it in the first place. Number 45. Ted Nugent. Ted Nugent's record is blunt. In January 2014, he called President Barack Obama a subhuman mongrel.
Like the Acorn community organizer gangster Barack Hussein Obama, to weasel his way into the top office of authority in the United States of America.
That sparked outrage, even from Republicans he was campaigning with. By February 21st, he went on the radio and gave a half apology, saying he crossed the line. But the phrase had a deep racist history that people didn't ignore. Then an old interview from 1990 resurfaced, where he bragged about using the N-word because everyone around him did, and even defended apartheid. He spent years insisting he isn't racist, but those quotes are right there. Number 44. Shane Gillis. Shane Gillis landed his dream job on Saturday Night Live on September 12, 2019. 4 days later, it was gone. Old clips from his 2018 podcast had surfaced, where he mocked Chinatown using fake accents and dropped the slur "Chenk," along with other racist and homophobic bits.
You know, they're yapping a little, you go, how about some Ken Burns? That's a little Cosby tip for you, actually.
He tried the "I push boundaries, sorry if you're offended" defense, but NBC cut him before he ever appeared on air. Then came the twist. In February 2024, SNL brought him back as host. He even joked in his monologue, saying he probably shouldn't be up there. Number 43. Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel had his own mess years before becoming the face of late-night TV. Back in the late 90s and early 2000s, when he co-hosted The Man Show, he repeatedly appeared in blackface while pretending to be NBA legend Karl Malone. Around the same time, another piece of his past existed on tape, a 1996 comedy Christmas album he recorded for KROQ's Kevin and Bean show. On one track, he imitated Snoop Dogg and dropped the N-word multiple times. Both the skits and the album resurfaced in June 2020, and the backlash was instant. Kimmel released a written statement saying he was embarrassed, apologizing for the makeup he wore and the words he spoke, and admitting he had waited far too long to take responsibility. Number 42. Julianne Hough. Julianne Hough landed in hot water on Halloween 2013. She showed up at a Beverly Hills party dressed as Suzanne Crazy Eyes Warren from Orange is the New Black. The look wasn't just an orange jumpsuit and a name badge. She actually painted her skin dark to imitate Uzo Aduba's character. When photos hit the web on October 26th, the backlash hit immediately. By that same weekend, Julianne posted an apology, saying she never meant to offend, but admitted her costume hurt and offended people. She insisted she was just a fan of the show, but intent didn't matter once the images spread everywhere. Over the years, she's had to revisit it. In 2021, during another round of public criticism, she repeated that the blackface costume was wrong. Number 41, Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly's downfall came on October 23, 2018. During a Halloween discussion on her morning show, she questioned why blackface is considered racist if it is used as part of a costume, and even said it was seen as acceptable when she was a kid.
But what is racist? Because truly, you do get in trouble if you are a white person who puts on blackface on Halloween, or a black person who puts on whiteface for Halloween. Like, back when I was a kid, that was okay as long as you were dressing up as like a character.
The backlash was immediate. She apologized on air the very next day, but it wasn't enough. By October 26th, NBC announced the cancellation of Megyn Kelly today. Colleagues at the network, including Al Roker and Craig Melvin, called her comments indefensible, and headlines focused not just on her words but on the high-stakes contract NBC had to negotiate as she exited. Number 40, Paula Deen. Paula Deen's career unraveled in 2013. In a May deposition, she admitted to using the N-word in the past when describing a 1987 robbery, and also talked about wanting a plantation-style wedding with black servers in white jackets. When that testimony leaked in June, the fallout was immediate. On June 21st, Food Network said it would not renew her contract. Within days, companies like Smithfield Foods, Walmart, Target, Novo Nordisk, Caesars, and QVC cut ties or dropped her products. On June 26, she appeared on the Today Show with Matt Lauer and apologized.
Who I am, and people that have worked beside me, have walked beside me, know what kind of person I am.
But sponsors kept walking away. Later that summer, a judge dismissed the race discrimination claims since the plaintiff was white, and the case was settled in August. By then, the business empire she had built was already in ruins. Number 39, Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson shocked fans in February 2019 when he admitted something from decades earlier. In an interview with The Independent, he said that after someone close to him was raped, he walked the streets carrying a kosh for several days, hoping a black man would provoke him so he could kill him. The backlash was instant, and the red carpet premiere for his movie Cold Pursuit in New York was canceled that same week. Neeson appeared on Good Morning America the very next day, insisting he was not racist and saying he would have reacted the same if the attacker were another race. He added that he later confided in a priest and friends about his anger. Number 38, Jay Leno. Jay Leno had a long-running habit of using racist jokes about Asians eating dogs. The advocacy group Manet counted at least 9 times between 2002 and 2012, where he leaned on that bit. Then, in 2019, during his stint as a judge on America's Got Talent, he allegedly joked that a painting of Simon Cowell's dogs looked like something you might see on a Korean restaurant menu. That remark became part of Gabrielle Union's complaint about her treatment on the show and drew new attention to his history. In March 2021, Leno finally apologized during a Zoom call with Mena, admitting the jokes were wrong and that he often dismissed criticism with the attitude of "screw them" if they can't take a joke. This time, he called it a legitimate wrong and owned it. Number 37, Al Jolson.
Of the story of Al Jolson, misunderstood hero or villain.
Al Jolson was one of the biggest names in old Hollywood. He's the star of The Jazz Singer in 1927, the first big talking movie. But in the most famous scenes,
Warner Brothers also released the first actual all-talking feature-length motion picture in 1928.
He's in full blackface, copying racist stage traditions. Some say he helped black performers behind the scenes, even fighting for them to be treated fairly. Still, the reality is that his movies spread harmful stereotypes that stuck. That's the part people can't just excuse. Number 36, Mickey Rooney. Mickey Rooney's role in Breakfast at Tiffany's is one of Hollywood's ugliest cases of racism played as comedy. In 1961, he showed up as Mr. Iwai Yunyoshi in full yellowface, taped eyelids, fake teeth, heavy makeup, and an over-the-top accent. Even people behind the movie regretted it. Director Blake Edwards later said he wished he could erase it, while producer Richard Shepard apologized in DVD extras. Rooney himself went back and forth, sometimes saying the backlash broke his heart, other times brushing it off. In 2009, a featurette titled Mr. Yunyoshi, An Asian Perspective, tried to unpack the damage. By 2011, protests hit screenings.
From other parts of the country as well, and this protest really is a confluence of views. A lot of people.
And in 2022, a UK channel cut Yunyoshi out completely. One role exposed just how badly Hollywood mocked Asian people. Number 35. Laurence Olivier. Laurence Olivier is hailed as one of the greatest Shakespeare actors, but his Othello in 1965 is infamous for one reason.
Is quite honestly an experiment in motion picture entertainment.
Full blackface. He painted his skin dark, wore a curly wig, and even tinted his lips to look exaggerated on camera. The New York Times at the time literally called it a minstrel show.
Warner Brothers presents a unique and exciting achievement in motion picture entertainment.
While other critics compared it to Al Jolson. Still, the film got Oscar nominations, which shows how normal this was back then. Watching it today, the performance feels loaded with stereotypes, from the accent he invented to the rolling eyes and overdone gestures. In 2021, a professor sparked backlash just for showing it without warning. Number 34, Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando wasn't just remembered for The Godfather. On April 5th, 1996, he went on Larry King Live and said straight up, Hollywood is run by Jews. It is owned by Jews. He even complained you'd never see a Jewish character mocked the way others were, using an ugly slur on live TV. Jewish groups blasted him instantly. The Anti-Defamation League demanded an apology.
Politically diverse Jewish community, as well as unity with the Jewish people from outside our community. That's how we win.
And the Simon Wiesenthal Center pushed him to make amends. A week later, Brando met with Rabbis Marvin Hier and Abraham Cooper, apologized privately, even spoke Yiddish, and cried. Still, this wasn't his first time. He made similar claims in a 1979 Playboy interview. Number 33, Ted Danson. Ted Danson's most infamous moment came on October 8, 1993, at a Friars Club roast for Whoopi Goldberg in New York. He walked on stage in blackface, tossed out the N-word more than a dozen times, and even threw in the old watermelon gag. About 3,000 people were in the Hilton Ballroom that night, with tickets going for around $250 each. The backlash was instant. Mayor David Dinkins, who was there, said it was way over the line. Montel Williams compared it to a KK rally and quit the club on the spot. Whoopi defended Danson on stage, but plenty of people weren't laughing. To this day, people debate if saying it was just a roast excuses it, but the receipts prove how bad it really was. Number 32, Sarah Silverman. Sarah Silverman crossed the line on her own TV show. In 2007, an episode of the Sarah Silverman program titled Face Wars put her in full blackface, with big painted lips, joking she looked like the beautiful Queen Latifah.
I look like the beautiful Queen Latifah.
Viewers and critics called it racist right away. Years later, in 2019, Silverman admitted she was horrified by it and revealed she lost a movie role when the images resurfaced. On top of that, back in 2001, she used an anti-Asian slur during a Conan O'Brien sketch and defended it in a debate with activist Guy Iokifs. Number 31. Don Imus. Don Imus crossed the line on April 4th, 2007, during a live broadcast when he mocked the Rutgers women's basketball team with a racist slur. The reaction was instant.
The I-Man's career was put on a brief hold after offending Rutgers University's women's basketball team members.
Sponsors started pulling out, and the team, along with coach C. Vivian Stringer, held a press conference condemning him. Imus went on Reverend Al Sharpton's radio show to try to apologize, but it didn't save him. On April 9th, MSNBC and CBS Radio suspended him for 2 weeks. Just 3 days later, on April 12th, CBS fired him entirely, and MSNBC dropped the televised simulcast. By December, he had managed to return to radio, but the original audio never stopped circulating. Number 30, Anthony Cumia.
First of all, Cumia, literally one of the most talented, funny guys in the world.
Anthony Cumia's downfall came from his own Twitter feed in July 2014. After a late-night confrontation in Times Square, he unloaded a string of racist tweets aimed at a black woman, calling her violent and using words like savage while dragging the black community in general. The posts spread fast, and SiriusXM had no patience for it. On July 3rd, the company announced his firing, labeling his remarks hate-filled and racially charged. Cumia deleted the tweets later, but appeared on TV saying he would not apologize. This wasn't part of his shock jock persona on the air. It was his personal account and his words. Number 29. Jeffree Star. Jeffree Star, the YouTuber who built Jeffree Star Cosmetics into a massive beauty brand, has faced years of receipts tied to racist behavior. Old clips show him using slurs, and in 2017, he released an apology video, calling his own comments vile and disgusting. One of the ugliest moments comes from a 2009 skit where he joked about throwing battery acid at a black woman to lighten her skin, a clip that has resurfaced repeatedly. In 2020, screenshots from his early lipstick Nazi website featuring swastikas circulated online, and he admitted it was an offensive shock tactic from his teenage years.
See, the problem is when there's people in control of anything, they get greedy, egos, so they ruin things and they make it evil.
That same summer, his biggest retail partner, Morphe, cut ties, saying it would stop all business with him and his brand. Number 28, Paris Hilton. Paris Hilton's wild party girl era wasn't just about tiny dogs and nightclubs.
Hi Vogue, it's Paris, and this is my life and looks.
In early 2007, a leaked party tape showed her tossing around the N-word, the homophobic F-slur, and even an anti-Jewish line like they were jokes. The clip went everywhere and was her first big backlash moment. Fast forward to 2023, she admitted it while promoting her memoir, saying she was mortified, blamed some of it on being a blacked-out idiot, but admitted using those words. She wrote, the N-word, the C-word, the F-word, and added there was no excuse. Add to that a 2012 Taxi recording where she said gay men probably have AIDS. That makes it more than a slip-up. It's a pattern.
I just feel like my whole life has been so public, and I just didn't want to have the media and people talking about my son before he was born.
Number 27, Duane Dog Chapman. Duane Dog Chapman's career hit the wall in 2007 when a private phone call leaked where he repeatedly used the N-word while ranting about his son's girlfriend being black. A&E quickly pulled Dog the Bounty Hunter off the air on November 1st. Within days, he was on Larry King Live apologizing in front of a national audience. By February 2008, A&E announced he had done outreach and returned the show to production. That should have been the end.
Chapman later denied that this was a factor in her snubbing, instead insisting that it was because both Bonnie and Cecily had fallen into the wrong crowd.
But in 2021, he reignited backlash in an interview when he claimed he thought he had a pass to use the word, even comparing himself to Eminem and saying he had more black friends. That attempt to justify it only made things worse. Number 26. Michael Richards. Michael Richards, best known as Kramer from Seinfeld, imploded on stage at the Laugh Factory in Hollywood on November 17, 2006. When heckled by audience members, he snapped and launched into a racist tirade that included the N-word multiple times and references to lynching.
I'll tell you, after that club incident, I withdrew, and I needed to, in view of that kind of behavior. What the heck is behind all this, and losing it the way I lost it?
Someone in the crowd filmed it, and when TMZ posted the clip a few days later, it went viral. Richards tried to contain the damage by appearing via satellite on The Late Show with David Letterman on November 20th, apologizing and admitting he had lost control in anger. The comedy club itself banned him from performing.
I'm Cosmo, Jerry. I'm Cosmo Kramer, and that's who I'm going to be. From now on, I'm Cosmo!
And instituted a rule that comics using the slur would face fines. Even years later, Richards revisited the incident, and in 2024, while promoting his memoir, he again admitted it was wrong and said it forced him into personal reflection. Number 25. Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan's fall came in July 2015 when a private recording leaked of him ranting about his daughter's dating life and casually using the N-word, even describing himself as somewhat racist. WWE acted immediately, terminating his contract and scrubbing nearly every mention of him from their website and programming. The following August, he went on Good Morning America to apologize in front of a national audience. 3 years later, on July 15, 2018, WWE reinstated him into the Hall of Fame after saying he had made repeated apologies and outreach efforts.
First off, I'd like to welcome everyone here at the Silverdome to WrestleMania 30, everybody in the WWE Universe.
Not everyone was ready to forgive. The New Day released a statement saying they were not prepared to welcome him back. Number 24. Donald Sterling. Donald Sterling, the billionaire real estate mogul who owned the Los Angeles Clippers, saw his empire collapse in April 2014 when TMZ released audio of him telling his girlfriend he'd not to bring black people to games while also complaining about Magic Johnson. The NBA launched an investigation that weekend, and on April 29th, Commissioner Adam Silver banned him for life.
I am banning Mr. Sterling for life from any association with the Clippers organization or the NBA.
Fined him $2.5 million and began the process of forcing a sale. By May 29th, his wife Shelley signed a deal to sell the Clippers to Steve Ballmer for $2 billion, closing on August 12th. Sterling already had a record. In 2009, the Justice Department fined him $2.725 million in a housing discrimination case over Black and Latino renters and families with kids. Years later, he called it a terrible mistake on CNN, but the lifetime ban never lifted. Number 23. Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber faced his own racism scandal in June 2014 when 2 old videos surfaced. The first showed a 15-year-old Bieber telling a racist joke and casually using the N-word.
Father's Day.
That's just mean. That's just straight
Why are black people afraid of chainsaws?
He quickly apologized, but only days later, another clip came out. This one showed a 14-year-old Bieber laughing through a parody of his own song, One Less Lonely Girl, swapping the word girl for a slur and even referencing the KK. He apologized again, admitting he needed to take ownership of what he had done. Reports at the time noted that Usher had sat him down years earlier to explain the history behind the word. Number 22. John Galliano. John Galliano, the fashion designer who turned Dior into a powerhouse, lost everything in February 2011 when a video from La Perle bar in Paris captured him ranting drunkenly with anti-Semitic insults and even praising Hitler.
But I love Hitler. People like you would be dead today. Your mothers, your forefathers would be
Dior suspended him immediately and fired him within days. On September 8th that year, a French court convicted him of public insults based on origin and religion, issuing a suspended fine of 6,000 euros, about $8,400 at the time. Galliano apologized, entered rehab, and then tried to rebuild. He worked quietly with Oscar de la Renta in 2013, and by October 2014, he was appointed creative director at Maison Martin Margiela. Number 21. Scott Adams.
Now, in the video, Adams discussed a poll conducted by right-leaning Rasmussen Reports.
Scott Adams, the cartoonist behind the comic strip Dilbert, torched his own career in February 2023 during a YouTube live stream. He referred to Black Americans as a hate group and told white people to avoid them entirely. The reaction was immediate. Within a weekend, newspapers across the country, including the Los Angeles Times, the Washington Post, and the USA Today network, dropped Dilbert from their pages. Andrews McMeel Universal, the distributor that handled his syndication, cut ties soon after, and Penguin Random House canceled his upcoming book. Adams defended himself online, but the strip disappeared from hundreds of papers in days. In a career that lasted more than 3 decades, the collapse was almost instant, showing how one live stream ended a publishing empire that once reached millions of readers daily. Number 20. John Schnatter. John Schnatter, the founder and face of Papa John's Pizza, imploded in 2018 during what should have been a routine PR training call. He used the N-word while discussing other people's past comments, and Forbes exposed it later that day. Schnatter quickly stepped down as chairman.
Public face of Papa John's Pizza founder and former CEO John Schnatter resigned as chairman of the board following outrage over the use of a racial slur on a conference call.
Admitted what he had said, and apologized. The timing was brutal because only a year earlier, he had already resigned as CEO after blaming NFL protests for hurting pizza sales. The backlash was wide. The University of Louisville stripped Papa John's from its football stadium within days, and later reached a naming rights settlement worth $9.5 million. Teams and sponsors distanced themselves, and the company scrambled to save its image. Schnatter later claimed the board staged a coup against him, but the fact remained. His words on that call tanked the brand he had built. Number 19. Morgan Wallen. Morgan Wallen, the country singer behind Dangerous, the double album, found himself at the center of a scandal in February 2021. TMZ filmed him outside his Nashville home using the N-word after a night out, and the reaction came fast.
Hey, take care of this pussy-ass motherfucker. Oh, fuck.
His label Big Loud suspended his contract, CMT pulled his videos, and major radio chains like Cumulus and iHeart dropped his songs. The Academy of Country Music also ruled him ineligible for that year's awards. Strangely, sales skyrocketed at the same time, with Billboard data showing his album jumping more than 100% that week, and staying at #1 for weeks until Justin Bieber finally knocked him off. Wallen later released a video apology, told fans not to defend him, and promised to donate $500,000 to black-led groups. Number 18. Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan came under fire in February 2022 when a viral compilation showed him using the N-word across multiple old episodes. He released a video apology on February 5th, admitting it was shameful, and also addressed a separate clip where he described walking into a black neighborhood as if it were Planet of the Apes. Around the same time, artist India Ari pulled her music from Spotify and posted the montage, pushing the controversy into the headlines. Spotify responded by removing more than 100 episodes, though CEO Daniel Ek said they would not cancel him. Rogan insisted he had not used the word in years, but the resurfaced clips and the offensive story forced him into one of the biggest public scandals of his career. Number 17. John Rocker. John Rocker torched his career in December 1999 with a Sports Illustrated interview that turned into a scandal. He described New York's number 7 subway line as chaotic, ranted about immigrants, tossed in homophobic language, and even insulted an overweight black teammate with a racist jab. Major League Baseball Commissioner Bud Selig suspended him through spring training, and the first 28 games of the 2000 season fined him $20,000 and ordered sensitivity training. An arbitrator later cut the suspension to 2 weeks and dropped the fine to $500, but the training stood. Rocker issued an apology in the Atlanta Constitution, yet later mocked the punishment as a farce. MLB confirmed he did complete the program and made the required charitable donation, but the damage to his reputation was permanent. Number 16. Jon Gruden. Jon Gruden, the Super Bowl-winning coach who later became a face of Monday Night Football, lost his Raiders job in October 2021 after a series of offensive emails leaked.
Jon Gruden resigned after the New York Times reported he frequently used misogynistic and anti-gay language in numerous emails before he was hired as coach of the Raiders.
The first wave revealed a 2011 message aimed at NFLPA chief DeMaurice Smith using a racist trope. He apologized, but more emails soon surfaced showing homophobic and misogynistic language toward Commissioner Roger Goodell, women referees, and players. Gruden resigned the same night the second wave hit. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers quickly removed him from their Ring of Honor. In February 2025, Tampa reinstated him without a ceremony. Number 15. Camila Cabello. Former Fifth Harmony star Camila Cabello's scandal blew up in December 2019 after old Tumblr posts from 2012 and 2013 resurfaced. They showed her sharing racist memes, the N-word, and other offensive junk from her teenage years. She quickly posted an apology, saying she was deeply ashamed and had grown since then. But the story didn't stop there. In February 2020, her ex-bandmate Normani told Rolling Stone that the racist attacks she faced from the fandom were brutal, and that Camila had taken years to acknowledge the harm. Number 14. Don Cherry. Don Cherry, the hockey commentator known for his loud suits and 33-year run on Hockey Night in Canada, ended his career with one rant on live television. On November 9, 2019, during his Coach's Corner segment, he scolded people in Toronto and Mississauga for not wearing Remembrance Day poppies and used the phrase, "you people," which was widely seen as aimed at immigrants. The blowback came immediately. Sportsnet issued an apology the next day, and co-host Ron McClain apologized on air and on X. By November 11th, the network cut ties with Cherry entirely. Even the Royal Canadian Legion condemned his words as hurtful and divisive. Cherry refused to apologize, saying he stood by what he said. The segment was canceled, along with his long-running role, and the timeline unfolded over just 3 days. Number 13. Prince Harry. Prince Harry has 2 major racist scandals on record. In January 2005, he attended a costume party wearing a Nazi uniform with a swastika armband, and the photo ran on the front page of The Sun. Clarence House called it a poor choice of costume, but the timing, just 2 weeks before Holocaust Remembrance Day, made the backlash enormous. Years later, Harry called it one of the biggest mistakes of his life and said he met with the UK's chief rabbi and a Holocaust survivor afterward. Then, in January 2009, a leaked Army training video showed him calling a fellow officer his little packy friend and using the word raghead to describe others. He apologized again, but the incident triggered a formal inquiry and headlines worldwide. Number 12. John Terry. John Terry, Chelsea's captain through years of trophies, saw his reputation shredded after a clash with Anton Ferdinand in October 2011. Cameras caught the incident, and by July 13, 2012, he was on trial at Westminster Magistrates Court. The judge acquitted him, saying the criminal standard of proof beyond reasonable doubt was not met. But the Football Association reopened its own case, and on September 27, 2012, an independent panel found him guilty of abusive language that included a racial reference. The punishment was a 4-match ban and a fine of £220,000.
Terry faces a maximum fine of £2,500, nearly $4,000, if he's found guilty.
Terry chose not to appeal, served the suspension, and the fallout stretched across England. Number 11. Luis Suarez. Luis Suarez, the prolific striker for clubs like Ajax, Liverpool, Barcelona, and Uruguay.
Since the World Cup, he was transferred from Liverpool to Barcelona for £65 million.
Faced a massive ban in 2011 for racially abusing Patrice Evra during a Premier League match. The FA produced a 115-page report that concluded Suarez used the word Negro multiple times in their argument. He argued that the term can be casual in Uruguay, but the independent panel rejected that, saying his testimony was unreliable. The punishment landed in December, an 8-match suspension and a fine of £40,000. The story didn't stop there. In February 2012, at his first game back against Manchester United, Suarez refused to shake Evra's hand, sparking more outrage, even from Sir Alex Ferguson. Years later, Evra has continued to describe the toll the abuse took on him. Number 10. Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor crossed a line during his 2017 press tour with Floyd Mayweather. In Los Angeles, New York, and London stops that July, he repeatedly told Mayweather to dance for him, using language tied to a racist history in the United States. The backlash was immediate, with media and fans calling it out as offensive. Instead of walking it back, McGregor doubled down at the Brooklyn event with a crude claim about being half black below the waist, complete with hip thrusts. Mayweather later said the remarks were totally disrespectful and singled them out in interviews. McGregor kept insisting he was not racist, but the videos, transcripts, and stage antics are still online. The entire controversy was part of the biggest fight promotion of the year and played out in front of sold-out arenas worldwide. Number 9. Walt Disney. Walt Disney created childhood classics, but a lot of his early work has serious racist baggage.
When I came to the Disney studio, many, many years later, I realized that Walt Disney probably was the world's greatest storyteller.
In The Three Little Pigs from 1933, the big bad wolf shows up as a Jewish peddler stereotype, accent included. They later reanimated that part in 1948. In Dumbo from 1941, the crow characters are criticized as racist caricatures. In production materials, one is literally labeled Jim Crow, and Song of the South is so offensive that Disney refuses to put it on Disney+. There are also claims about Walt himself. like hosting Nazi filmmaker Leni Riefenstahl at his studio in 1938. Some defenders say he wasn't anti-Semitic, but the films speak for themselves. Number 8. Larry the Cable Guy. Larry the Cable Guy built his brand on flannel shirts, a goofy catchphrase, and a just joking defense.
He also appears in Blue Collar Comedy Tour, One for the Road on Comedy Central, June 4th. Please welcome Larry, the Cable Guy. Larry, come on out.
But when you actually look at his comedy and movies, the racism stands out. In Delta Farce, back in 2007, critics tore it apart for mocking the Army, U.S. policy in Iraq, and especially Mexicans. He even said there were only 3,000 Mexicans at the Alamo because they could only find 4 trucks. Reviews called the whole thing 89 minutes of racist stereotypes and fart jokes. The New York Times even pointed out how Muslims were mocked too. And when confronted on 60 Minutes, Larry brushed it off with the classic "people are too sensitive" excuse. Number 7. PewDiePie. PewDiePie, the Swedish gamer who became the biggest YouTuber on the planet, saw his brand implode in early 2017 over Nazi jokes. In one video, he paid 2 men on Fiverr to hold a sign reading "Death to all Jews." And within days, Disney's Maker Studios dropped him, while YouTube canceled Season 2 of Scare PewDiePie and removed his channel from Google Preferred. Media outlets tallied 9 different videos over 6 months, with anti-Semitic gags or Nazi imagery. PewDiePie released an apology, saying the joke went too far, but the damage was already done. Just months later, in September 2017, he was live-streaming PUBG when he blurted the N-word during gameplay. Camposanto responded by filing DMCA takedowns, and other developers distanced themselves. Number 6. Kyle Larson. NASCAR driver Kyle Larson nearly lost his entire career in April 2020. On April 12th, during a live iRacing event streamed on Twitch, his microphone caught him saying the N-word over an open channel. The fallout came immediately. NASCAR and Chip Ganassi Racing suspended him on April 13th, and by April 14th, Ganassi fired him outright as sponsors like McDonald's and Credit One Bank publicly pulled out. Larson released a video apology and went through sensitivity training.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm sorry. Last night I made a mistake and said the word that should never, ever be said.
But the exile lasted months. On October 19th that same year, NASCAR reinstated him, and Hendrick Motorsports signed him for 2021. That comeback culminated on November 7th, 2021, when he won the Cup Series championship at Phoenix. Number 5. Iggy Azalea. Australian rapper Iggy Azalea faced backlash for offensive lyrics and old social media posts long before topping charts. In her early track, Drugs, she rapped a line about being a runaway slave master.
Tire marks, finish line with the fire marks. When it really starts, I'm a runaway slave master.
After Azalea Banks called it out, Iggy wrote an open letter in March 2012 calling the lyric tacky and apologizing. That controversy never really faded. In 2015, she was booked to headline Pittsburgh Pride, but activists resurfaced years of tweets that included racist and homophobic language. Local LGBT groups pulled their support, protests followed, and Iggy withdrew from the event while issuing another apology. Critics also hammered her over cultural appropriation and her exaggerated delivery, often labeled a black scent. Number 4. Kid Rock. Kid Rock's Nashville bar rant in November 2019 sealed his reputation. At his big-ass honky-tonk, he went on a drunken tirade about Oprah Winfrey and others,
where he is appearing to be heavily intoxicated and going on some sort of a tirade about Oprah Winfrey,
while the crowd and cops stood by. The video went online immediately. When people called it racist, he literally said, "Okay, fine." Later, in an interview, he doubled down and said he meant it. This wasn't a one-time meltdown either. For years, he waved the Confederate flag at concerts, sparking protests in Detroit. He claimed he didn't fly it with hate, but that didn't change how it looked. Between the rant, the fine "call me racist" line, and the flag history, the receipts are everywhere. Number 3. Jimmy Fallon. Back in 2000, Jimmy Fallon did a Saturday Night Live sketch where he dressed up as Chris Rock. He put on full blackface makeup, a wig, and imitated Rock's voice. For years, it sat in the archives. But in May 2020, the clip resurfaced online and went viral. Fallon went straight to X and wrote that he made a terrible decision, and there was no excuse for what he did. A week later, he opened The Tonight Show with an on-air apology and brought on NAACP President Derek Johnson and CNN host Don Lemon to explain why blackface is harmful. That wasn't damage control off camera. He addressed it right in front of his audience. Later that year, Chris Rock himself said Fallon wasn't racist, but reminded everyone that blackface is never okay. Number 2. Ron Atkinson. Ron Atkinson, known as Big Ron, managed Manchester United in the 80s before sliding into ITV's prime Champions League chair. On April 21, 2004, during Chelsea's semi-final against Monaco, he thought his microphone was off and blasted defender Marcel Desailly. Finishing with the N-word. The UK feed had cut to ads, but the international feed carried his remark live. Within a day, he resigned from ITV. The Guardian axed his column, and sponsors like 7-Up canceled plans with him. He did the interview circuit, insisting he was not racist while admitting the remark was, and even fronted a BBC documentary called Big Ron, Am I a Racist? The following January in Sheffield, he reportedly cracked a line about Chinese women being ugly, which drew condemnation across Asia. Number 1. Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon, the on-screen boss of WWE and the man who actually ran it, has his own very public record. At Survivor Series 2005, in a backstage skit with John Cena, he dropped the N-word on camera and walked past Booker T, who was shocked.
My nigga! My nigga!
The bit went out on pay-per-view, and years later, when WWE's library moved to Peacock, that exact clip was cut. It was not the only case under his watch. Back in 1998, D-Generation X mocked the Nation of Domination in full blackface, a parody that Peacock also removed in 2021. Then came the Mexicools gimmick in 2005 and 2006, with luchadors riding lawnmowers to the ring in coveralls, playing up stereotypes so blunt that even commentator Jim Ross later called it distasteful. These were all broadcast segments, approved and aired by WWE itself, and they remain part of McMahon's record. Thanks for watching. Now check out the videos popping up on screen for more unbelievable stories.